Hello, everyone. Forest Focus as Nottingham Forest pick up another huge win in the Premier League as they overcome an injury to Ola Aina to beat Manchester United 1-0 thanks to Anthony Elanga's wonder goal. That puts Forest 10 points clear of 6 points Newcastle as they showed extraordinary defensive resolve once again. A great win, a great night. Looking forward to discussing it in the company of, first of all, Paul Morley. Paul, how are you doing?
Excellent, feeling great. There was moments where I was I was struggling a bit to keep the faith, but actually, sheer bloody mindedness, guts, willingness to win, and of course, as you say, that an absolute moment of pure quality as well that made the difference. So yeah, I'm feeling exhausted, but feeling very, very happy.
Chief in Chicago, you're a man of relentless faith in this team. So how are you feeling tonight?
Well, I'm always rewarded. It's not even faith at this point. It's just they keep. It's hard to doubt them. You'd be crazy to doubt them at this point. So yeah, I was a little bit nervous, just because they 120 minutes over the weekend, short rest. But something about beating United and doing the double. Our producer here, Maresh, diehard United fan. So close the computer. I watch it on my computer, walk straight to his desk, and he's furious. He's just yelling about how, we are defensive. It's terrorist football. It's beautiful. It's another 3 points. I can't get enough of it. I love this team. And that to me was a quintessential Forest win. The blocks, even it's like there are some close calls, but it's just, I have to remind myself to not be worried because everything's going to be fine because it always is. And that's the beauty of Forest this year.
How big a win does it feel, Paul? Because there's quite a lot of times with teams within seasons, there's one game where it all goes to hell. I mean, Arsenal, it happens to quite a lot. I was thinking of Wolves when I was watching this. Wolves last season, when they played Coventry, or the season before in the FA Cup quarterfinals, in great shape. They lose the game and their season falls apart. I'm not saying that was going to happen to us, but there's quite a few factors going against us with the Aina injury and stuff like that. And as Chief mentioned, the extra time and everything, that it feels pretty massive, this win. How big is it for you?
Yeah, it's huge, isn't it? I mean, that 10 points is it now to Newcastle? I appreciate they've got a couple of games in hand, but points on the board is such a big thing, and yeah, just so important to just get over. I mean, Murillo obviously at the end. We'll talk about it. With that goal line clearance, just kind of sealed the deal. But yeah, it's a huge 3 points. I was almost kind of thinking going into the game. I was at Brighton on Saturday and could see how difficult, how much that took out of them towards the end of that game. We were flagging in the last 10, 15 minutes of that. And I almost kind of went into tonight thinking, do you know what, a point wouldn't be the worst result. And I kind of almost got into the game thinking, actually, points fine. A win would be absolutely massive. And so it feels like we're kind of in bonus territory after that, particularly the way the game went as well. And the amount of possession we didn't have, but at the same time, kind of like what Chief said, we never really felt massively uncomfortable, even though we were sort of second best for well, I say large parts of the game, but for moments anyway, where it felt that we were sort of on the back foot and sort of scrambling a little bit. But yeah, huge win, huge 3 points, and I think now just look forward to, I guess, 4 days off now that we've got, which feels like a long time considering the 2-3 day turnaround that we had after the Brighton game. So, yeah, delighted with 3 points, and I think everybody deserves a rest tomorrow, and that whole squad, they can have the day off, put the feet up. I'm sure Nuno will give them that and recharge the batteries and try and go again on Saturday.
I imagine, Chief, United fans are probably going to have two sentiments coming out of the game. Why did we sell Elanga would be the first one. And the second one probably is they're going to feel hard done by and they feel they should have got at least a point. To what degree did we, I don't know, not get lucky is obviously the wrong word, but, how much of it was that little bit of luck earned, and how hard done by can United feel, if at all, do you think?
I mean, they should feel bad about selling Elanga for $15 million when Mason Mount comes off the bench and they paid $60 for him. I know it's been unfortunate with injuries, but it's just, that is the difference between the two clubs, that they spend $1 billion on guys that don't get them any points, and we'll take Elanga off the top of their scrap heap, and he's leading us to the Champions League. So in terms of bad luck, I mean, I didn't really think that they were particularly unlucky. They had the one that went off the crossbar. We gave him one, Milenkovic, the turnover late, and then the one off the goal line. But Murillo makes a habit of that too. So eventually, you just have to stop saying that that's luck, and that's being heady and having preparation and being in the right spot. Which that's credit to Murillo more than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, Garnacho v Elanga does sum it up a little bit. Garnacho leathering the ball out for the most petulant yellow card and putting in a pretty horrific performance probably said a lot about where the clubs are at. Along with that, Paul, the other thing that's out, just the amount of blocks. I mean, Nico Williams has made a block from Garnacho again. Nico had a chance in the 90th minute. He's played 120 minutes on Saturday, and he's bombing forwards to get on the end of Sangare's ball. So just the kind of, I don't know, resolve, commitment to everything that we're about. Was that the big standout for you tonight?
Absolutely, like I said before, just sheer bloody mindedness. I mean, it felt as though in that first half there was obviously a lot of sort of rejigging that took place, and probably quite rightly in terms of we were getting overrun. I think bringing Morata on was a wise move, but it just felt like we just needed to get through to half time, and again just kind of dig in. And then I thought actually second half, particularly the first half of the second half, we looked a lot more comfortable. It just felt like Nuno, needed to get them in at half time, just reorganise basically, because we obviously went off script in that first half. Aina's injury obviously was part of that. And I think I did feel that we looked better second half and more combative, more, we were winning more 50-50, particularly in the first half of that second half. And of course, as you say, 120 minutes or 130 minutes, as it probably was in the end at Brighton, for a lot of those guys on Saturday, it was always going to be that we were probably, sitting deep and hanging on to whatever lead or point that we had in the last 10-15 minutes. But we did it pretty well. Got the blocks in. The positioning of every player on the pitch defensively was fantastic, and Ali McCoist was talking about that on the commentary. Just the shape that we have when we've not got the ball, irrespective of who's on the field. And I think that's massive credit to the coaching staff. That you can switch players in and out, switch formation, and actually everybody is in the right place at the right time. And therefore, no matter how much possession whoever we're playing against has, it's so difficult to break us down. So, huge credit to the coaching staff for getting that plan in place, and with the change of personnel in such a short space of time, that we were able to see that through. I say comfortably, but comfortably as we probably could expect to, is massive props and credit to everybody. And like I say, bloody mindedness and buying in the team spirit and everybody pulling in the same direction is what got us over the line tonight for sure.
And of course, I assume that's goal of the season. Off the top of my head, Chief, I can't think of anything better. What was going through your head when he got the ball and took off from there? Were you thinking keep going? Were you thinking pass it? What was going through your head?
I thought that he was going to give it up, but then, as they kept dropping off him, once he kind of like little Boyd Garnacho, where Garnacho went in for the tackle, he just keeps on going, and then it felt like their defenders backed off, and he's just like, if you're going to give me this shot, I'm going to take it. And buried. So it was absolutely beautiful. They, on our broadcast, I'm not sure if it's simulcast or not, but they said he did 90. It was like 80 yards in 9 seconds. So it's like that's like Usain Bolt basically. So with the ball at his feet. So it's beautiful. He's the most lovable, attacking player. The fact that they got him from United, didn't really celebrate too much. I wish he had. I wish he jumped up in front of them and did the Gibbs White, fingers in the ears. Because he deserved better from them, and I'm so glad he's here, and I'm glad he's not at Newcastle too. 50 million, you guys can keep it.
Goal of the season, Paul? I'm putting you right on the spot there. I can't think of anything better.
Yeah, I did think that myself. I wrote that down actually. He's certainly going to win goal of the month, I would imagine. I don't know, only first day of the month. We don't know what's going to come yet, but yes, I think from memory, I can't recall a better Forest goal this season than that. Just to pick the ball up, what was he, 80 yards from goal, 90 yards from goal, and just you could see the terror in their defenders. And actually, there's a moment 5-10 minutes later where he was sort of slipped in on the right hand side and wanted him to do it again. And he sort of held back and looked for Gibbs White, and then in the end sort of did neither. But yeah, what an asset to have, what a weapon he is when when you can do that. There's very, very few players in the Premier League and indeed probably world football that can score a goal like that. So, to have him playing for us and see him do that on a bigger stage against, of course, the team that we brought him from and the team that gave him his chance. And now it's going to be, as Chief said, ruining the day that they let him walk out the door. Was just brilliant, poetic justice.
Just the word Callum Hudson-Odoi, he didn't play. I saw on Twitter saying it was just a personal matter. There was a bit of conjecture that his partner's about to give birth or something like that. So we'll check up on that. But I don't think it's, wish him well or whatever's happening, but I don't think it's a big one. They'll keep him out for a while. What did you make of the rest of the first half, Chief? Or certainly up until the point where Aina got injured? Was it concerning for you the way United were creating chances, or was it mostly dead balls and corners that they were coming from?
No, I was a little bit nervous off the start. I thought it was a little too maybe free and open, where they were getting the ball in dangerous areas. I think it felt like they had 5 corners within the first half hour. So that was a little bit nerve-wracking. And then we see Elanga go down. It's like, oh, we might be in for one here. But then they settle in. And then it's just, it took them maybe a minute to get their feet wet and get locked in. And then once Forest locks in, it's like that work rate. There might be teams that are more talented. I don't think if anybody wants to play Forest, so you probably see them on the fixture list. You're like, oh, this is going to be the devil's day, because they work. They got to be so frustrating. They throw their bodies in front. There's no more team. There's not a team that's more difficult to play against than Forest. And so once they settled in, I thought they looked how they always look, which is just tough to play against. And from our perspective, a beautiful team to watch.
Good evening to everyone in the comments and the live chat. 500 plus people with us already, which is great. Do us a favour and hit like. Good evening to Of This Parish, Chris Aylmer, with some typically reserved comments. I can see all caps, enjoying a win. He absolutely hates Man United. So, Chris is enjoying it. I'm sure everyone else is. What about this Aina injury, Paul? It presents some problems. It doesn't look good. He was holding his calf. How concerned should we be?
Yeah, I think concerned. Speaking as someone who did my calf about, what had it been, 8-9 weeks ago, sprinting across London Road ahead of the Southampton game to get to the Nav for Father's quiz, and my calf pinged, and it's still not quite right now. So what's that? He's obviously a finer tuned athlete than I am, and probably half my age. So
slightly, no offence.
Yeah, so slightly. So I don't know. It feels like probably we're not going to see him for, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks, maybe at least. He's got to be a doubt for that semi-final, which then, given that Williams is suspended, gives us a potential quite a big problem at fullback for that particular game. Obviously, I think in the league, we saw what happened. Williams over to the right, Moreno on the left. I think that doesn't give us a huge cause for concern. I'm quite comfortable with both of those guys in league fixtures. I think it does cause a problem for the semi-final if he's not back for then. But look, we've been hugely fortunate with injuries for the whole season. And again, going back to Aina and talk about the minutes that he's played, he played 2 lots of 90 minutes for Nigeria in probably, hot, sweltering circumstances. He then played 120 minutes at Brighton. So, this is the time of the season where these guys are going to be getting into the red zone, as the physios call it. So it's probably not a huge surprise that we've started having 1 or 2 go down. Look, next man up. I'm sure. Like I say, I've got faith in Moreno to come in and do a job on the left hand side, and Nico switch over. So, I'm whilst it's not great, I think if you think of all the backup players that we've got, and we've talked about this a lot about the drop off between the first 11 and the next man up, I'd say Moreno is probably the one out of the whole of the backup sort of squad where there's probably the least drop off, if you see what I mean. So for that reason, I'm obviously disappointed for Aina, but not hugely concerned, certainly from a Champions League qualification perspective, that's going to have a massive impact on our running.
Yeah, I agree. Moreno did well, to his credit, I thought, because he's not really featured. Didn't even get on the pitch against Brighton, so no reservations there. He can't play against Villa next up, obviously, so that presents a few conundrums, but he can play in the FA Cup semi-final, obviously. I'll ask Chief the other side of the advert what he made of that tactical change. It was an interesting one. Basically, it was at the same time, so I'll ask Chief about that just on the other side of our advert for the Trent Navigation.
Hey up me duckies, a quick rundown of match days at the Big Shed. We're open from 10, serving full English breakfast, teas, coffees, and believe it or not, beers. Father's Footy Quiz is followed by the lunchtime kickoffs, and the outdoor kitchen is fired up from midday, serving sourdough pizzas, burgers, hot dogs, pies and sausage rolls. Lovely. Pints start at £4. We have a great selection of cask ales and lagers to lubricate the vocal cords for a bit of a sing-song before the game. After the match, we've got some great DJs and live bands booked. So get your send down to the Trent Nav. Win or lose, we're having a booze. And if we draw, we'll have some more.
There you go. Cask ales from £4. Check that out. We won't talk about inflation, Chief, because it's like the biggest issue in America. But how much is a pint of lager in America, or cask ale, out of curiosity?
Depends on where you are. I would say if I was at I can't remember which game it was. It was $22. Oh, it was at the Phoenix Suns out in Arizona. It's $22 for a beer. So for 16 ounces. So yeah, not great. I'm going to do damage in a couple of weeks at the Nav. So can't wait. I'll be at the Big Shed for hours. Greg Mitchell has promised me a proper Nottingham weekend. So I will be taking part.
Oh my God, you'll be cashing your chips in when you're in England then, definitely.
Yep.
Wow. What did you make of this change then for the back three? It was a bold move. I think 39 minutes into the game. Were you shocked by it?
Do you think they make it without the injury? Because it felt like that was they were linked. Okay.
Yeah. I
thought
don't know. They were quick.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was related to the injury. I thought it was a good move. And, you just kind of have to go with what is your next best available lineup. And if Moreno is not going to be as strong defensively in the back four, you want to have that assurance there with the other three guys. So with the three center halves. So I thought it was linked, but perhaps not. But I thought it worked out brilliantly. I mean, Nuno's manager of the year and another clean sheet. And like we said earlier, didn't really test Matt Sells too much. So, hats off to Nuno again.
Danilo's getting a fair bit of hammer in the live chat. I mean, I give Danilo credit for the way he took being hooked. A lot of players would have kicked off. Was he as bad as people are saying, Paul, or not?
I don't know. One thing I would say, I say in his defence, I'm wondering how late in the day Callum was kind of given a pass and was out of the team. I mean, again, none of us have been there in that situation, but you'd imagine that probably the setup was that Callum would have ideally started had he been available, and Danilo's probably been thrown in late. So that whole, is he fully prepared? Obviously, as a professional footballer, he should be prepared. And I don't think he did. I don't think he was terrible. I think what I would say in that first, up until the point that Aina got injured, and the first half, as a whole, really. Credit to United, they were popping it about really well. They did play well, and as Ali McCoy said it a lot of times on commentary that they were playing really neat football. Their one-touch, two-touch passes were working. They were creating space. So sometimes you've got to give credit to the way the opposition play, and I thought they looked a good side in that first half, and we just about hung on to their coattails and shut the door on them anytime they had any real opportunity. So Danilo. Obviously wasn't his best 40 minutes or so that he played, but I think it was the right move. And how linked it was, the substitution to the injury. Sorry, I think even if Aina hadn't gone off, and maybe would have kind of stuck with it till half time, and he would have changed it at half time. So, as I say, because we came out in the second half and looked a lot more assured, I thought for the first half of the second half, it was the right move. It was just obviously a little bit disrupting that happening, midway or, within the first half without the opportunity for Nuno to just have a word and tell him how he wanted to set up. But that seemed to happen at half time. It looked a lot better after half time for it.
Yeah, I think Danilo, he did struggle, but I wasn't watching it thinking, God, he's playing terribly. I was watching it thinking their two number 10s are causing us problems. Like they've got good players, but they're so toothless. Like Fernandez is a good player. Xerxes is a good player. Xerxes a weird player. 42 million quid for a striker who can't score a goal, but he's a good footballer at least. So, yeah, they did cause us problems. The other thing about midfield that stood out, Chief, that probably made Danilo look a bit worse, was how good Yates was in his own very Ryan Yates way. You were saying before I think you said he's your favourite athlete, which covers all sports. So talk to us about your love for Ryan Yates, especially tonight as well.
I mean, I jumped in the lake for him. Like I'll do anything for that guy. So I love Ryan Yates. It's the way he competes. He throws his body. He draws a million fouls. He just bothers people. He just bothers people. Gets under the skin. We would call that a rat here in hockey. He's just like a ratty, annoying guy. And then the work rate's through the roof, and the leadership, the communication. To me, like he is everything you want in a captain and the face of a franchise. And the fact that he's from Nottingham, takes it up even another notch higher. Like he's doing, I'm sure he's doing you guys, all the citizens there, proud, because he is the face of Nottingham Forest. And that great picture that the club posted where he's 5 or 6 years old, whenever he is, signing his first professional contract, and now he's star in the FA Cup. I thought he was probably man of the match today. A couple. I think he played one out for a corner against, but other than that, I thought his effort was perfect.
I think there's a phrase that. Sorry, go on.
Oh no, you go on. Don't worry, Paul. You go.
I was going to say there's a phrase that sums up Yatesy and arguably sums up sort of Forest this season to a degree, and it's something that so we use at work sometimes, which is hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And that just sums up what Yates is all about.
Mm-hmm.
You come up against someone like Bruno Fernandes tonight, who's clearly a more talented individual than Yatesy, but by God, that boy, he just does not leave an ounce out there. And that for me is just the epitome of what Forest have done this season. And all the pundits, we all know what everyone said at the start of the season, what everyone thought of Forest, and they continue to defy the odds, and that Yatesy tonight just epitomises everything that we're about, and I think comes from Nuno as well. His willingness to win and his desire to make everybody work as hard as they damn can. And we know that people like team, particularly like Man United, there's petulance, there's arrogance, there's people within that team who don't have the right attitude, and I think that's what got us over the line tonight, is that sheer bloody mindedness and hard work, which overcame that whatever talent gap there might have been.
And I think that's infectious. You see Yates running back, you see him blocking shots, and then Nico's doing it. And then Gibbs White, I thought Gibbs White was working like crazy today too. So it's something that, can start with one guy and can start with a coach, and then it just becomes the team identity. And I think that really starts with Yates, and you don't have that level of commitment unless you have a workhorse like that leading the way.
The other thing that was funny as well, Chief, was like, Bruno Fernandes plays, he's United's kind of franchise player. He plays in the Portugal national team. Casemiro's played for Real Madrid and Brazil. And Ryan Yates gets in these players' heads all the time. He did it with Enzo Fernandez. He did it with Alexis McAllister. I don't know how he does it, but when Casemiro went nuts at him for the most obvious booking, I mean, yeah. I don't know. What is it about that? Is there something in Yates' character, obviously, I guess?
He's an evil genius, and he does it with a smile on his face. Like, it's just like he knows exactly what he's doing. He's just the perfect. I wish there was a way to have him mic'd up for the entire game, because he's got to be running his mouth or something. That needs to be the next match day pass. We're just camera on Yates, a microphone on, and we get to hear everything he says over the course of 90 minutes. It would be so insightful, because he's got to be doing something other than just playing hard, because everyone hates him, and I love it. I love it. There's nothing I love more than hate, and Yates, he brings it out of everybody.
And also when Garnacho got booked and smashed the ball away, Yates went up to him and he gave him a little pat, but he said something to him. He just gets in his ear.
Some little condescending something that probably sent him over the edge. I bet you Garnacho is thinking about that, whatever Yates said to him in that moment, as he's laying his head down tonight. Like, that's going to you just know Yates gets in you. He sticks to your ribs. And he's the best. He's the absolute best. I love that guy.
Yeah, massively. Thank you very much to Chris Aylmer for sending €10 our way. Let's see what he said here. The takeaway today, apart from the double over Man United, is 120 minutes, no Hudson-Odoi, no Wood, Aina off, and we still won clean sheet. It's a mentality thing. It is indeed. Thank you for the €10, Chris. Chief could buy half a pint with that in the safe. What did you make of our attacking performance, Paul? It's more second half as well. Taiwo's the other one who's getting hammered in the comments tonight. Talk about Taiwo if you want, but generally, did we carry enough threat? Can we get away with that with more games, or is that just how we play?
Yeah, we didn't create a huge amount, did we? Other than the goal, to be fair. There was one moment actually, which I thought, talking to Taiwo, was with the architect of probably the next sort of. You mentioned Nico's chance, but actually, there was one where Taiwo held it really well, laid it off to Gibbs White, and he sort of ran through into the area and didn't quite get a shot away. And I don't know, I thought Taiwo was all right. He again put himself about. I mean, got to give. I mean, remember, this is the second start he's had in what? 6 months, 5-6 months, so apart from the cup games against Exeter and people like that. So we know with Taiwo, we've seen it before, it takes a while to get up to speed. I didn't think he was terrible today. He contributed and, held the ball up fairly well. I thought there's a couple of times where it didn't stick with him, but there was definitely, several times where it did. And look, I said this before. Wood's out now for however long we've got Wood out. It's pointless sitting on here berating Taiwo, moaning at him. He's going to play. Let's get behind him. The guy's not going to. He's not going to do what we want him to do if we're all sat there moaning every time he miscontrols it or does something. Yes, we can have a conversation this summer about whether he's right for us, but for the next 8-9 games or 5 games or 4 games, whatever it is, he's in the team. Just back the guy, support him. That's going to get the best out of him. Let's not sit here moaning and sniping at him because that's not going to get the best out of him. So look, we're all in this together. Taiwo is working his socks off as hard as everybody else. I'm sure that that he'll have moments between now and the end of the season where he makes a difference, and everyone will change their tune and be glad that he's glad that we've got him as the as the backup striker when the moments go for him.
I thought second half he was better. First half, the ball bounced off him a fair bit, but he's up against 3 centre backs as well, so that's a factor. That playing against, who was it, Yoro, De Ligt, and Mazraoui. De Ligt's a big lad. So yeah, for the first half he wasn't great, but I think overall he played his part in it. Certainly, he won a couple of headers as well at the near post, which was encouraging defensively. I'm talking about because that was the thing that concerned me a bit more than anything when Wood got injured, because I think other players will score goals for us, but Wood does a lot of defensive work. So yeah, overall, Taiwo wasn't brilliant, but I think Paul's right. Taiwo is Taiwo, and I think he'll get goals, a couple of goals certainly if we stick with him, because we have to. Anything else you want to talk about the game, Chief, before we start talking about man of the match? And I'd touch on the Villa game. Any points you want to add?
No, I just doubling down on the Taiwo thing where they're not here. They're not in the Premier League without a great month from him at the end of 23. So if he can, he just needed another month like that where he had the goals against Southampton and Chelsea. And if he can just recapture it, we're steaming towards the Champions League. So I think he has it in him. He hasn't been healthy. He's always been a guy that seems like he needs a few games to get going. Maybe these 2 games were those games. And then against Villa, he comes to play and bags one. So I'm not ready to give up on Taiwo. I thought he was fine tonight too.
Let's give these chaps a moment to think about man of the match then, and then we'll talk about the Villa game briefly. Just before we do that, thanks to Nottingham Window Company, second sponsors as ever of our post-match shows. If you're looking to make that big purchase, then check out the link in the description. It's very sunny over here in England. Felt the warmth on my face for the first time today and thought, oh my God, it's good to be alive, which is not the kind of thing a bloke who's like 42 should be thinking. That's what someone who's in their 60s and 70s should be thinking, really. But I think I'm old before my time. Anyway, if you run by windows or doors, check that out. Right, I'll let Chief go first, because I think he gave away who his man of the match was earlier.
Ryan Yates. it's Ryan Yates. That guy, again, like they don't win this game without him. I do think his energy is contagious, and I loved everything about him. I loved he pisses everybody off. He gets under everybody's skin, and I thought he was great defensively. I thought he controlled the ball well for the most part today too. So if there was ever a day to give it to Yates, today's the day.
Drop your names in the description as well. I can see a couple of Nikos, a Sells, a couple of Yateses. What about you, Paul?
Yates and Elanga. Obviously they gave it Elanga on the TV for and understandably so, for the moment of quality that he produced. I think actually even aside from that, he was lively, he was bright, he was causing problems every time he got the ball. Yates, like I said before, just sums up everything about this team and this attitude and this mentality. So it's very, very difficult to look beyond Ryan Yates, I think, for man of the match. Just going back to the Taiwo thing, and what I will say, and there's a couple of comments in there saying that, we're all happy clappers for Taiwo and stuff, and we should sell him and stuff. And maybe that is, I don't think any of us are saying that Taiwo is the saviour and he's gonna be here for the next 4 or 5 years and shoot us to Champions League glory. Maybe we have that conversation this summer. Maybe it is time to move him on. But the transfer window's closed. We've got 8-9 games to go. He's going to be playing, so let's back him. That's the point I was trying to make. I'm not sort of saying that he's the best thing since sliced bread, and that he doesn't have bad moments, but he's in the team. He's here. We've got him, so it's pointless in slagging him off. Sorry, but yeah. Ryan Yates is man of the match.
But Ryan Yates, man of the match. I thought there were 3 candidates for me: Nico, Yates, and Elanga. I'll give a word for Elanga then. Just that was like a world-class goal. And, without that goal, do we win the game? Probably not, because we are struggling to create a little bit when, you without Wood, as discussed. No Hudson-Odoi, who's our most important attacker, I think, with our team structure. And Elanga, just that first half. The thing we've said about Elanga a lot is use your pace, use your power. And now we're really seeing it. There were multiple times today where he got the ball, knocked it past the defender and just glided by them. And I don't know if that's a Man United thing, like he wanted to stick it to them for selling him or not. I don't really care. But I thought that showed that he's a top Premier League winger and a real difference maker. So I would probably go with Elanga, but I can see why everyone's gone for Yates as well. Right. How are you feeling about this Villa game then before we go, Chief? There's a quick turnaround, but Villa have got a ton of fixtures as well, even more than us. So is it actually a decent matchup on Saturday, do you think?
I'm a little nervous for this one. I feel like this just can't go on forever, where they just find a way to win every game, and Villa away is always going to be a challenge. So yeah, they do have a loaded schedule here, but so is Forest. You play 120, then you play on Tuesday. Now you're playing 4 days later. So with the injuries that Forest picked up, I would be thrilled with a point away at Villa.
Well, I'll ask you if a point's a good result. I'll check the fixtures, but Paul's saying, but just on the Villa game in general, how are you feeling about it, Paul?
It's going to be tough. I mean, I think if you look at this batch of 3 games with tonight, Villa and Everton, would absolutely have snapped your hands off for 6 points out of those 3 games. If that means, if we get beat on Saturday and come back and beat Everton, not that that's necessarily going to be an easy game, but even if you offered me that now, 3 from the next 2, I'd take that. I think if we'd have got a point tonight and then we got a point on Saturday, you'd think actually that's a pretty decent week. So the fact that we've already got 3 tonight means that we've got, I don't want to call it a free hit on Saturday because obviously every game is one that you want to get something out of, but it feels like just tonight has given us that little bit of a cushion that if Saturday ends up being a defeat, it's not going to be by no means the end of the world. Particularly given Aina going off, and that's what I'm concerned a little bit about is the makeup of the back line now that Aina's looks like he's going to be injured, and obviously, as you say, Moreno can't play on Saturday, so that's gonna leave us with a hole in one side of the fullbacks, and it's going to be interesting to see how Nuno solves that puzzle. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head whether you play a back 3 and maybe even Dominguez comes in and does a job as a wing back. I'm not sure whether that's a role that he's played before. Otherwise, your next man up's probably Moreira, who's pretty untested at that level. So there's a puzzle definitely to fix for Saturday when it comes to what shape we have at the back, assuming that Aina's not going to be fit. So don't hold huge hopes for getting 3 points on Saturday. Would absolutely snap your hand off for a point, and let's see how we get on.
Are we having this conversation with the lens of being worried about our Champions League place, or just been worried, that we're playing a top 8 team in Villa?
Yeah, I mean, until it's clinched, you're always worried. You want to keep stacking points, and Villa's a good team. And I would say that Forest against the top teams this year have not looked particularly strong, whether it's Fulham or Bournemouth or anybody in the top half. It seems like they've struggled. They've battered the teams on the bottom half, but I think it's tough. And I actually am looking forward to see what Harry Toffolo has on Saturday. So miss Toffolo. So So yeah, I don't know. It is. I want that Champions League so badly that it feels like every point matters. So it's like you got to find ways to stack them, even when things are going against you.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the table.
Yeah.
I'll just say quickly, Newcastle do have 2 games in hand on us,
Yeah.
so we do have that 10-point cushion. But it does feel. Let's see what Brighton do. Brighton have got 2 games. A couple of games they really have to win, but I can see the scenario is going to be it's 3 from 4. Forest, Chelsea, City, and Newcastle. Newcastle have got Leicester coming up, so I think they'll win that one. And then they've got Brentford tomorrow. So I think Newcastle have to win both their games to make me twitchy, but I'm still very relaxed about it all at the moment. Sorry, Paul, what are you going to say?
No, I was just going to say I was getting myself slightly confused there. With obviously there is Toffolo available and Nico can play right hand side. I was thinking about going back to the cup semi-final again, but obviously again we're going to have Moreno available for that. So yeah, we should be able to muddle through with recognised back 4 for both of those games, assuming we don't get any more injuries. So yeah, look, Saturday, like Chief said, snap your hand off for a point and go on to Everton and look to get 3 after that.
Weekend fixtures, by the way. It says all these teams have got to play tomorrow night, and Chelsea are playing on Thursday. But I'll just say the weekend fixtures really quickly before we go. Arsenal away to Everton, but Arsenal are fine. Chelsea away to Brentford. Fulham are out of it, so I don't think they're fine. Man United at home to Man City, and Leicester v Newcastle. So perhaps Man United could do us a favour. I wouldn't necessarily back against them against City. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Chief, any final thoughts? Anything you want to add before we let you go?
No, just the dream season continues. It just feels like, the clock's never going to strike midnight. We're not turning into a pumpkin. This team is real. And, I look forward to every game. I kind of build my entire life around making sure I can be available to watch Forest no matter what time of day. So I can't wait for the next one. Can't wait for, Everton after that. I need to do some research to see how difficult an FA Cup final ticket is. I feel like it's impossible. But, that's what's on my mind for the next month and a half or so is just, enjoying this as much as possible because seasons like this don't come along very often for any team. So I'm relishing in every moment.
Yeah, massively. Yeah, I totally agree. Very hard to get an FA Cup final ticket, I imagine, but you will do your best, no doubt.
Yes.
Paul, anything you want to add?
Well, just on what Chiefs just said there. So, I mean, talking about the seasons not coming around very often, I know I messaged you earlier. So, in the entirety of Forest history, which is 160 odd years, and probably 120 odd years of league football, there's been 13 seasons out of that lot where we've either finished in the top 3 or got to a major cup final, or obviously both in some cases. So, this season has the real massive opportunity to be one of the top 5-6 seasons in the whole history of the football club, which is amazing given what we've come off the back of in the last 20 odd years and the last couple of years where we've obviously struggled to survive in the top flight. So just hold on to moments like this and let's just all massively embrace it and keep feeling positive about it, because this could end up, it feels like every game that goes by, it's going to be something special to remember for a long time. The other thing, just want to give a shout out to somebody. So I went to Brighton on Saturday and went with my son who's 15, managed to get tickets on Friday and got 2 tickets separate in different blocks. So as we got on the ground, we sort of moved to try and stand together where my son's ticket was. And that meant asking a bloke who was stood next to me to swap sort of blocks with me. And I said, "Oh, excuse me, mate, do you mind swapping blocks?" And he said, "Oh, is your name Paul? I recognise you from Forest Focus. It's the first time it's ever happened to me." And my 15-year-old son was dying of embarrassment next to me, thinking, "Oh, Christ, Dad's getting recognised. He's never going to show up about this." Anyway, so this chap was called Kyle, and he obviously watches the show. So big thank you for Kyle for swapping with. So it meant I could stand with my son, which he really appreciated. So yeah, big thank you to him. But again, that just goes to sort of, I guess, reiterate the whole feeling around the club and the Forest family, and both everybody on the pitch is doing their best they can to help each other out, and the same in the stands as well, which was great to see. So yeah, thanks to Kyle, big shout out to him, and yeah, look, let's embrace this moment, like we say, and enjoy waking up tomorrow morning, basking in the glory of doing the double over Man U for the first time since 1992. I mean, you mentioned Chris hates Man United. I bloody hate Man United as well. So I'm doubly happy about that. And I'm sure when I go on holiday tomorrow, if I meet any English people, there's every chance for next week they're going to be Man U fans. So I'll make sure I rub it in.
Well, if you meet any Forest fans, you think we'll be mortally embarrassed again. Although 15-year-old kids are always embarrassed by that.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, that's true.
If you've enjoyed this, we shall end it there. Do us a favour, hit like, hit subscribe. Do consider channel membership or Patreon would be lovely, or just a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. What's happened there? Can you just see a black screen, everyone? Yeah. Didn't see anything. You didn't see anything. My Wi-Fi or whatever was meant to appear there didn't. So not a problem. Not a problem. Right, we're back tomorrow, a bit later in the day. I think about 3:30, 4 o'clock, with Pete, and European Cup winner Colin Barrett will join us to reflect on the game and look ahead to Villa, and then match preview on Thursday, opposition preview on Friday. Paul Morley, thank you very much.
Cheers, loved it as always, and come on, you Reds, let's make it a season to remember.
Paul said we'll all wake up in the morning basking in the glory. We're all going to bed. Chief, you've got the rest of the day ahead of you to revel in this. So, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.
I might pop a bottle. Do the double over Manchester United, pop a bottle, make a little steak for dinner, make it a celebration. There you go. I got to catch up with Paul.
Chief.
Right.
Very good. Very good. Right. Thanks to Chief. Thanks to Paul. Enjoy what's left of the day. Everyone over here an hour before midnight. So appreciate your company. 800 people with us, which was great. So before you go, do us a favor and hit like. And if we don't see you tomorrow, we shall see you soon.